Tips for wearing hijab without wearing siput. For practical appearance tips on wearing the hijab are very useful for getting a varied and not boring look. You may be comfortable with one style, but trying other ways to wear the hijab will not only give a different impression, you will also be surprised if there are actually many styles of how to wear the pashmina hijab that you can create. Now hijabbers prefer hijabs that are simple and comfortable. Some even prefer not to wear siput so that the hair is not damp and makes the head hot. There are also those who don't wear siput because it makes their head feel uncomfortable. For those of you who want to wear the headscarf without siput, here are the tips. 1. Hijab material is not slippery. Tips for wearing the hijab without siput are determined by the material from the hijab itself. If you really don't need siput, then choose a hijab with a material that is not slippery. The veil material, which is stiff and easy to shape, will make the headscarf neatly placed on the head and will not shift easily. When choosing a non-slip hijab, try to pay attention to materials such as cotton, cashmere or viscose. These fabrics are generally soft but will not be difficult to shape because they are slippery. Avoid chiffon and satin hijab materials, which besides being smooth are also challenging to shape, especially if you don't wear siput. 2. Wear a bandana. Another tip for wearing the pashmina hijab is wearing a bandana instead of wearing a siput. Bandana can arrange front hair or bangs so that it is not visible when wearing a hijab. Wear a bandana that is fabric and thin so that it is barely noticeable. If the bandana is worn like a bandeau, its position is above the head around the crown. To replace the siput, the bandana must at least be placed on the forehead or hairline. Choose materials that absorb sweat so that your hair doesn't get limp or itchy. 3. Hair clip. Tips on wearing the hijab. To make it neat without sprinkling, can use hair clips. The point is that you need something to replace the siput in order to ensure that the hijab is neat and doesn't change its shape. Hairpins can do this and can even serve as a sweetener. You can replace the siput with a hair clip for the hijab cloth to shift or move. Utilize hair clips with the right placement so they don't look awkward and can replace the use of siput. Avoid colorful hair clips but choose a color that matches the color of the hijab or clothes. 4. Wear a hat. Tips for wearing a neat pashmina hijab without smudging. Can work around this by wearing a hat. The time to prepare is also reduced because the arrangement of the hijab is simpler. In addition, there is no need to worry about the hijab falling off because there is a hat that will hold it. You just set the hijab and put a hat on it. If you are not comfortable wearing a siput, try choosing other accessories to help the hijab to stay in its original shape. Wearing a beret or hat can be an option, especially if you will be doing a lot of outdoor activities. In addition, the hat provides special protection to the eyes from the hot sun. Its use will also help the hijab to be in position. 5. Put it in the shirt. The most practical tip for wearing a hijab without shaving is to insert the end of the fabric into the shirt. Thus, the shape of the hijab fits perfectly with the head, looks neat and also has a very tight position. Wearing the hijab in this way can be tried. Besides being practical, you can be stylish without having to wear a siput. Hijab will not dangle and its position will not fall apart. Although fixing the ends of the hijab with safety pins, sometimes, inserting them is the best solution. This look is perfect for attending formal events or going to the office where you are required to dress up practically and can move freely. Double tie the ends of the hijab and tie it back so that the knot can last longer. 6. Using brooch. Tips for wearing a four-sided hijab without siput are wearing something that is visible or trying to hide it. The bandana and siput are positioned inside the hijab so they are not visible. You wear hairpins or hats. These accessories become part of your fashion style. Make sure the additions blend in with the overall look and don't make it overwhelming or too crowded. For an elegant and more stylish look, you can pin your hijab with a beautiful brooch with beads. The placement can be adjusted to your desired creation. You can also insert the end of the hijab into the collar of your shirt and complete it with a beautiful brooch to match. 7. 2 hijabs. Apart from not wearing siput, you also wear 2 hijabs combined to ensure that the hijab doesn't sag. These are tips for wearing hijab by combining hijab styling styles. One hijab can be worn as usual and the other hijab is used as an adhesive so that the position of the basic hijab does not shift. The choice of hijab creations can be glued with a knot or make a hijab shape that fits the head by following hijab styling techniques that you can learn from social media or YouTube. There are many choices of creations that can be made with 2 hijabs put together.
8. Pin the needle. The use of thin and colored pins that match the hijab you are wearing is another way to be able to wear the hijab without smudging. Even if you wear a hijab made of soft chiffon, the use of pins in several parts will ensure that the hijab is neat and will not change its shape. You can also pin a pin under the chin, and it really helps to make sure the hijab position will always be like that. Tips for wearing hijab when not wearing sipit can be done only by using a small needle.